Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to the 27th episode of my chess trap series. In this episode, I'm going to show you one very interesting and high profile trap against Scotch Gambit from the black perspective. The opening arises after the following move order: e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, d4, e captures d4, and now white gambit a pawn with bishop to c4. There are various ways you can reach to this position, and here in my past I have created my own replica with black where I have recommended the move bishop to c5, which is a nice solid way to play against Scotch Gambit. However, in this video we are going to concentrate on one of the trappy line, starting with the Hungarian defense bishop to e7. Now white has a choice, whether he take on d4 and enter into the Hungarian defense main line, or to play proper Scotch Gambit move, and that is c3. So white has created the first trap that black cannot touch the c3 pawn. For example, if you become greedy and capture on c3, then there comes queen to d5 and there is no good way to defend on f7 except black has to play this move knight to h6. Well, guess what? This is the line which I am going to recommend in this video, because here white has the obvious choice bishop captures h6, not only removing the defender of f7, but black cannot even touch this bishop as queen to f7 leads to the checkmate. Objectively speaking, there is only one defense for black here, and that is castle on the king side. Afterwards, isn't white is a clear piece up? Well, of course, that's right. But if you carefully look at this position, there are some threats from the black camp. For example, right now black is threatening the move c captures b2 and also g captures h6, regaining the piece back. So accordingly, white has two popular choice. One of them leads to the trap, and the second one, even if your opponent doesn't fall for the trap, the resulting position are quite playable from the black camp. Before I move on, I like you to pause this video and find out which move you are going to choose from the white perspective. Well, congratulations if you find this move bishop to c1, because it straight away leads to the trappy territory. Yes, indeed. And at first sight this looks so obvious, right? Because white is protecting every single bit and coming out a healthy piece up. But in chess, sometimes perception can be deceptive, and now in fact it is black who is in charge of the game. The key move in this position is knight to b4, threatening two squares, and white cannot defend both of them. Queen to d1 has most oftenly tried from this position, but after this, black will continue with c2, once again hitting two pieces, and after queen to e2, pawn captures knight, rook captures b1. After the whole sequence, suddenly black emerged with a pawn advantage. Isn't that amazing? Well, the story doesn't end here. In this position, black has a lethal reply, which in fact gave him the instant winning advantage, and that is BAM! So now black is attacking the bishop, and accordingly white has three choices. The first move, e captures d5, is a pretty bad one. The simple reason is, after bishop to f5, that rook on the b1 is a goner. So that's not a good choice for the white. What happens if he continue with bishop captures d5? Well, more or less same story. Here black is going to capture this bishop, and after pawn takes, black has this lethal check, bishop to b4, which in fact force white king to go into the f1 square, as if he continue with bishop to d2, then there comes rook to e8, attacking the queen and forcing white to give up a piece after knight to e5, bishop captures d2, king captures d2, and queen to d5. White is going to lose a piece and his king is going to stuck in the center for all the assault. Even if here white continue with king to f1, he is not out of the wood, as after bishop to f5 attacking the rook, rook to a1, and now simple move, queen captures d5, and once again black emerged with an extra pawn, and this time white king is completely misplaced. Last but not least, what happens if your opponent continue with a3, counter-attacking your knight? Here the sequence is pretty much forced. You will take the bishop, white will capture your knight. Now comes bishop to b4 check, bishop to d2, bishop captures d2, and it doesn't matter however white recapture. Let's say to avoid the queen exchange, white take with the knight. But then after black's next reply, b5, this time around black is a too healthy pawn up and white has hardly any compensation for it. So this is one of the wonderful trap exist against Scotch Gambit. In fact, in the online database, there are more than 100 games played from this position where many below 2000 rated opponents fall into it and lost the game very quickly. So my recommendation is you should definitely try in a quick game format such as Rapid or the Blitz game. Before I leave, I like to point out that even if your opponent finds the move bishop captures g7, black is not in a trouble, as after king captures g7, it looks like black king is somewhat open, and after knight to c3, white has some initiative. But this is just an illusion, as after the move d6, all black want is to move king to h8 and bishop to f6, and because black has a dark square bishop, his king is always going to safe. And don't forget, black has a bishop pair which in long run give white some nasty problems. Now to illustrate my point, I like to show you my game against a 1900 rated opponent where he continued with some logical moves and still find himself at the trouble line. At this point, he continued with castle on the king side. I played bishop to f6, and now obvious move queen to h5. So putting the queen near to my open king, but as I mentioned, there is no danger in the black camp due to the dark square bishop presence, and I calmly continue with bishop to e6. Attacking on c4, my opponent thought that he will open up my king more with bishop captures e6, pawn captures e6, and now rook to d1, threatening e5, but I diffuse all the threat with queen to e8, counter-attacking white queen. He gave me the check, and I was more than happy as it helps me to what I want to do, namely king to h8. My opponent continued with rook f to e1. So you can see all these moves are very natural. White has some impressive rooks sitting on the center of the board. But after all, what is the threat? I don't see any threat from the white camp. In fact, now as the g file is open, it is only black who is getting advantage. And rightly so, I continue with rook to g8, attacking the queen, queen to h3, and now simple move, queen to f7. I just want to involve my last rook, which is sitting in the corner, into the game, and after that white will certainly feel the heat. Okay, my opponent continued with rook to d3. So his idea is to involve that rook on the king side. No matter, I continue with rook to f8. And now knight to h4 happen on the board. Well, so far white play is very logical and pretty good. Except there is a huge problem in the white camp which I exploited. So before I move on, the last time I want you to pause this video and find out a response which completely give black upper hand. Well, I hope you find this decisive blow. Boom! So suddenly black is a piece up. Here I think my opponent was in time trouble and he captured this piece without thinking. But then comes the instant resignation after black's dazzling reply. Yup, you guessed it. Rook to g4, a deflection move of the queen, so that either white has to give up the queen or getting horrendous checkmated by black pieces. That's it guys, I hope you enjoy and learn this amazing counter trap against Scotch Gambit, which you definitely want to try in your own game for a great surprise value. You never know, you can beat a high ranked player within few moves. Well, thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment on this. And I'll meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.